The rain in Portland, Oregon, was the kind that didn't just fall, it attacked. It was a relentless, cold deluge that turned the city's streets into rivers of reflected neon, and it was on this night that Marcus Thorne found himself at the absolute nadir of his existence. He was a man drowning, not in the rain, but in a sea of overdue bills, the bitter taste of rejection, and the soul-crushing weight of a life that had repeatedly told him he was a failure. His faded jacket was soaked through, his hands were cracked and raw, and his only possession of any real value, a dilapidated 1998 Ford Taurus, had chosen that exact moment to surrender its soul, its front tire hissing its last breath into the cold night air. As he knelt on the grimy asphalt of a gas station lot, feeling the icy water seep through the knees of his trousers, a new sound pierced the drumming rain, a sound more pitiful and heart-wrenching than the storm itself. It was the sound of a woman sobbing. Now, if this story moves you, if you believe that even in the darkest storms, a single act of kindness can be a beacon of hope, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs a reminder of the good in the world, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share these stories of humanity. The sobs were coming from a glistening, brand-new Mercedes-Benz SUV that had pulled up to the adjacent air pump, its sleek, expensive lines looking obscenely out of place in this world of grime and desperation. Through the rain-streaked window, Marcus could see a woman, elegantly dressed, but with her carefully styled hair plastered to her face, her hands gripping the steering wheel as if it were the only solid thing in a world collapsing around her. She wasn't just sad. She was in a state of complete, utter collapse. Her expensive car, like Marcus's, had a flat tire, and the sight of it seemed to have broken her spirit. He watched her struggle, her manicured fingers fumbling uselessly with the complex jack in the trunk, her designer shoes slipping on the wet pavement as she gave up and retreated to her driver's seat, where she buried her face in her hands and wept. For a moment, Marcus felt a surge of bitterness. Why should he, a man who couldn't afford to buy his daughter a new pair of shoes for school, help someone who had everything? The thought was bitter and sharp, a familiar companion in his life of struggle. But then, he saw the small teddy bear in the back seat, a tiny, fluffy thing that had fallen onto the floor. It wasn't just a woman who was crying. It was likely a mother, just like his daughter, Sarah, was a daughter to him. Swallowing his pride, which was the only thing he had left that was intact, Marcus pushed himself to his feet. His own tire was a lost cause, his spare a joke of a donut that wouldn't get him a mile, but the woman's car was a masterpiece of engineering. "Miss," he called out, his voice hoarse. He approached her window, holding his hands up to show he meant no harm. "I know a thing or two about cars. I can get you sorted." The woman, startled, looked up. Her name was Victoria Sterling, and her world had just ended. A bitter divorce was finalizing. She had just been stripped of a fortune she'd helped build, and the pressure of being a single mother to her two boys, James and Matthew, was crushing her. She saw a man who looked as destitute as she felt, his face etched with a weariness that spoke of 1,000 small defeats. She saw pity in his eyes, and she prepared herself for the humiliation of his judgment. "I can pay you," she stammered, her voice trembling. "I have money." Marcus shook his head, a sad, weary smile touching his lips. "It's okay. Just let me do this." For the next hour, in the pouring rain, Marcus worked. He wasn't a mechanic, but poverty had been his greatest teacher. He'd learned to fix everything from a broken hot water heater to a sputtering engine, because he couldn't afford to pay anyone else. The Mercedes tires were a newer, trickier system, but he was patient, methodical, and determined. He knew he wouldn't be going anywhere tonight, and the warmth of the garage where his daughter was probably with his neighbor was a more welcoming thought than the inside of his car. He got the lug nuts off, wrestled the heavy, expensive tire free, and wrestled the spare on, his muscles screaming in protest, the rain making every surface treacherous. He was soaked to the bone, shivering, but he didn't stop. He didn't think about his own problems. He just focused on the task, on making this one small part of the world right again. When he was done, he stood up, his back aching, his hands shaking from the cold and effort. He walked back to her window and simply said, "It's done. You should be fine to get home. Just go slow on the spare." Victoria stared at him, his face illuminated by the station's harsh lights. She saw a man who had nothing, yet had given her everything. He had given her dignity, a moment of respite from her despair, and a reminder that there was still goodness in the world. She reached for her wallet, desperate to repay him. "Please," she implored. "Let me give you something." Marcus looked at the wad of bills she was offering. He thought of his daughter's smile, of the new shoes she could get, of the overdue electricity bill that was past due. His hand twitched with the urge to reach out and grab it, to finally have a little bit of relief. But he saw the fear in her eyes, the same fear he saw in his own reflection every day. He took his hand away, and he simply said, "Just do something good for someone else. That's payment enough." He watched her drive away, the taillights of the Mercedes disappearing into the rainy night, and felt a profound emptiness, a loneliness so deep it hurt more than the cold. The next morning, the sun broke over Portland for the first time in days. Marcus was at the same gas station, his car now sitting on its spare tire, useless and dead. He was on his way to his job at the warehouse, a job he was about to lose because he couldn't afford the bus fare, when a sleek, black car pulled up. Two men in suits got out, their eyes scanning the lot until they fixed on him. They walked over and the older one asked, "Are you Mr. Marcus Thorne?" Marcus nodded, a knot of cold dread forming in his stomach. He imagined he was being sued, or worse, that the woman's car had been damaged because of his handiwork. "We've been looking for you. The woman you helped last night is in need of your assistance," the man said. Marcus was confused. "Her car," he stammered. The man's response sent a jolt through him. "No, sir. Her family. She would like to meet with you at this address." An hour later, Marcus found himself standing in front of a palatial mansion in the West Hills of Portland. He felt like a complete fraud. The dirty, oil-stained clothes a stark contrast to the manicured lawns and pristine, ivy-covered brickwork. He was shown into a vast, sun-drenched living room, where Victoria Sterling was waiting for him. She looked entirely different from the tear-streaked, desperate woman of the previous night. She was composed, elegant, and her eyes held a strength that was almost intimidating. She was a billionaire, he'd discovered, the founder of a massive tech company. "Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice warm but firm. "Please sit down." He was utterly confused. I just fixed a tire, ma'am. It wasn't a big deal." "It was everything to me," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You didn't just fix a tire. You fixed a moment in my life when I felt completely broken. You asked for nothing in return." She took a deep breath, and then she told him about her sons. About how, despite her immense wealth, she was failing them. She was working all the time, she didn't know how to be a parent, and her boys were struggling. "I can't do it alone," she confessed. "I need a father figure in their lives. I need someone who understands hardship, who understands what it means to keep going when everything is falling apart. I need someone kind, honest, and hardworking." She looked him in the eye, her gaze unwavering. "I'm not offering you a job in the traditional sense. I'm offering you a home, a position. I want you to move here, to be a part of our family, to help me raise my sons. I will make sure you and your daughter, Sarah, want for nothing." Marcus felt the world tilt on its axis. He thought of Sarah, who had to take cold showers because he couldn't afford hot water, who wore shoes that were held together with duct tape and hope. He thought of his own failures, his own deep-seated belief that he was a good-for-nothing loser. And here was this woman, a billionairess, offering him a lifeline. He felt tears, hot and unexpected, sting his eyes. He had felt invisible for so long, a man who was only noticed to be ridiculed. But this woman saw him, truly saw him. She saw his struggle, his pain, his kindness, and she deemed it to be the most valuable asset in the world. He looked at the grand house, the beautiful children who were peeking around a corner, and he felt a rush of gratitude so powerful it stole his breath. It wasn't the money that moved him, it was the recognition. It was the validation that his spirit, the part of him that had refused to be broken by life, was worth something. He wasn't a failure. He was a man who had kept going, who had helped a stranger, and now, that one act of kindness was about to rewrite his entire destiny. He was about to be given a second chance, not just for himself, but for the daughter he loved more than anything in the world. If this story of kindness and second chances touched you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support means the world to us. Marcus's life was about to change forever, a testament to the fact that even when we have nothing, we can give everything. If this story made you cry, If it gave you a little bit of hope, leave a comment below. Tell us, have you ever had a random act of kindness change your life? What did you learn from it? We read every single comment, and your stories are what inspire us. Share this video, and let's spread a little more kindness in the world.